Chapter 1. Unlocking the Brain. How the most complex organ works. What if the most incredible machine in the universe is inside you? Imagine the ultimate computer, designed by nature. It weighs about 3 pounds, has the consistency of soft jelly, and sits right inside your skull. Despite its size, it's the most complex and energy-hungry organ we have. Think about this. Your brain uses up to 20% of all the energy you get from food, even though it's only about 2% of your body weight. That's like having a 20-watt light bulb constantly burning inside your head, powering billions of connections. Why does it need so much energy? Because it never sleeps. Even when you're sound asleep, your brain is busy sorting information, restoring itself, and solidifying memories. Your brain coordinates every move you make, every breath you take, every heartbeat. It processes information from all 5 senses, letting you see the world in all its beauty, hear sounds, feel touch, taste and smell everything around you. But it does so much more than just keep you alive. Your brain is the home of your personality, your emotions, your thoughts, dreams, fears, and ambitions. It allows you to learn, create, love, empathize, solve problems, and even be aware of your own existence. Every thought, feeling, and memory is the result of incredibly complex electrical and chemical activity happening inside this amazing organ. It's constantly adapting, changing, and rebuilding itself like a living, ever-evolving city. You can think of it as a central processor that not only follows instructions, but also generates them, creating your unique reality. Understanding how this incredible conductor works is the key to understanding yourself and your place in the world. And while we've come a long way in studying it, the brain still holds countless mysteries that we're only just beginning to unravel. It's a journey into the depths of your own mind, and it promises to be an amazing one. Did you know what your thoughts and memories are really made of? Get ready to meet the tiny builders that create your mind every second. We've called the brain an incredible conductor, but who are the musicians playing the symphony of thought? They're neurons, billions of tiny cells, the fundamental building blocks of everything you think, feel, and do. Imagine them as microscopic electricians, constantly sending and receiving messages, forming incredibly complex structures inside your brain. Each neuron is an amazingly complex little machine. It has a cell body, or soma, where all the basic life processes happen. Branching out from the soma are numerous fibers, like the roots of a tree, called dendrites. Neurons receive signals from thousands of others through these dendrites. If the signal is strong enough, the neuron generates its own electrical impulse, sending it down a long wire, the axon, which then branches out into axon terminals. But the key interaction happens at the synapses, microscopic gaps between the axon terminal of one neuron and the dendrite or body of another. This is ground zero for all brain activity. When an electrical impulse reaches the end of the axon, it triggers the release of tiny chemicals, neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters cross the synaptic gap and attach to receptors on the next neuron, passing the message along. Picture it like a relay race, with a baton passed from runner to runner at lightning speed. It's thanks to neurotransmitters that we experience a wide range of emotions: joy, sadness, fear, or motivation. Dopamine, serotonin, endorphins. These chemical messengers play a central role in regulating our mood, sleep cycles, appetite, and, of course, our ability to learn and understand. Imagine that each neuron is a tiny computer, and the synapses are the ports through which it exchanges data. Your brain has around 86 billion of these computers, and each one can have thousands of synaptic connections with other neurons. This creates an incredibly complex dynamic network that's constantly rearranging itself and adapting to new information. This amazing ability to change and strengthen connections, neuroplasticity, is the foundation of our ability to learn, remember, and even recover from injuries. When you learn a new skill or discover something new, these synaptic connections either get stronger or new ones form, creating efficient neural pathways. This complex architecture allows the brain to perform a colossal number of tasks simultaneously, from reacting instantly to danger to pondering deep philosophical questions. Understanding these basic building blocks is the first, but crucial step to unlocking how we think, feel, and perceive the world. It's the foundation upon which all the amazing complexity of our consciousness and unique experiences are built. This will change how you see yourself. You'll learn that every thought, feeling, and action originates in specific, specialized areas of your brain. We've talked about neurons as building blocks, but where are these blocks located? And how are they organized to create such a complex system as our consciousness? Instead of thinking of the brain as one uniform mass, picture it as an amazingly structured city, where each district is responsible for its own unique functions. It's our internal map of the mind, and it's far more detailed than you might imagine. Let's start with the oldest and most fundamental part, the brainstem. It's a kind of control center that connects the brain to the spinal cord and controls all the vital involuntary functions. Breathing, heartbeat, blood pressure, sleep-wake cycles, all of this is under the control of the brainstem. It runs on autopilot, letting you not have to think about taking the next breath and keeping you alive even when you're unconscious. It's our internal survival mechanism, running non-stop. Just above the brainstem and deeper inside the brain is the limbic system, our emotional brain. It's a whole complex of interconnected structures that play a key role in forming emotions, memories, motivation, and behavioral reactions. It includes important elements like the amygdala, responsible for processing fear, aggression, and other strong emotions, the hippocampus, which is critical for forming new memories, and the hypothalamus, which regulates basic instincts like hunger, thirst, sex drive, and the stress response. The limbic system is what allows us to feel, love, fear, and remember important events in our lives. But the crown jewel of evolution, the newest and most complex part of the brain, is the cerebral cortex. It's that wrinkly grayish layer, just a few millimeters thick, that covers the entire surface of the brain. This is where all our higher-level thinking happens. Speech, consciousness, planning, decision-making, creativity. The cortex is divided into 4 main lobes, each with its own specialization. 1. Frontal lobes. Located in the front of the head, they're our command center. They handle planning, decision-making, self-control, personality, and voluntary movement. This is what makes us unique, allowing us to set goals and pursue them. 2. Parietal lobes. Located behind the frontal lobes, they process sensory information, touch, temperature, pain, and spatial awareness. They help us navigate our surroundings and understand where our body parts are. 3. Temporal lobes. Located on the sides of the head, they handle hearing, memory, especially long-term memory, and language comprehension. This is where the Wernicke's area is, critical for interpreting speech. 4. Occipital lobes. Located in the back of the head, they're entirely dedicated to processing visual information. When you see this text, it's the occipital lobes working at full power. All these areas don't work in isolation. They're constantly exchanging information, forming an incredibly complex and dynamic network. It's their coordinated interaction that allows us to perceive the world, think, feel, and act as a unified whole. Understanding this map is the first step to realizing how amazing and harmonious our internal world is. Remember when you first caught a ball or learned a new language as a child? Or how, as an adult, you learned a complex dance or a new route? That amazing process, when yesterday's ignorance becomes today's knowledge, is a mystery held by your brain. Remember learning to ride a bike or how to play the piano? That amazing process when you go from not knowing to mastering a new skill, that's the magic of your brain. So how does it happen? The answer lies in the brain's incredible ability to change and adapt, known as neuroplasticity, and the complex mechanisms of memory formation. Memory isn't just a storage space for information. It's a dynamic process of encoding, storing, and retrieving data, allowing us to remember events, recognize faces, learn skills, and make plans. Scientists identify several types. Short-term memory, or working memory, is a temporary buffer, holding a small amount of information in an active state for a short time. For example, when you memorize a phone number to dial it, its capacity is limited, and if the information isn't processed, it quickly disappears. So how does information move into long-term memory? That happens through consolidation. If information is important, repeated, or connected to strong emotions, the brain actively restructures its connections to preserve it. The hippocampus, a structure in the limbic system, plays a key role here. It acts as a temporary archive, helping to transfer memories from short-term memory to long-term storage in the cerebral cortex. Long-term memory is divided into explicit declarative memory, responsible for consciously remembering facts and events, like the capital of France or your first day of school, and implicit procedural memory, which works without conscious participation, like knowing how to ride a bike or type. At the heart of all these processes is the phenomenon of neuroplasticity. It's a fundamental property of the brain, meaning its ability to change its structure and function in response to experience. Imagine your brain as a constantly changing landscape, where roads, neural connections, can become wider and stronger with frequent use, or, conversely, become overgrown. When you learn something new synaptic connections form between neurons, or existing ones are strengthened. This process is called long-term potentiation, LTP, making neural networks more efficient at transmitting information. Neuroplasticity isn't just the foundation of learning and memory. It's also a mechanism for brain recovery after injuries or compensation for lost functions. For example, if one area of the brain is damaged, neighboring areas can take over some of its functions. This explains why people can recover after a stroke, or why blind people often develop heightened hearing. So your brain isn't a static machine. It's a living, constantly restructuring organ. Every new piece of knowledge, every new experience literally changes its physical structure, making you who you are. This ability for constant development and adaptation makes it truly one of the greatest wonders of nature. Did you know that billions of chemical reactions happen in your brain every second, determining every feeling and decision? And that up to 95% of your daily choices are made on an entirely unconscious level? We've talked about neurons and brain regions, but how do these billions of cells and complex structures come together to create something as ephemeral but all-encompassing as your emotions and ability to make decisions? It's the chemistry of the brain that conducts this complex symphony of feelings and choices, determining who you are and how you interact with the world. Imagine that every feeling, from intense joy to deep sadness, from fear to love, is the result of an incredibly complex dance of neurotransmitters. These tiny chemical messengers play a central role in regulating your mood, motivation, and behavior. For example, dopamine is often called the pleasure molecule. It's activated when you anticipate a reward, motivating you to action and learning. It's dopamine that makes you strive for new achievements or experience joy from a favorite hobby. Serotonin is closely linked to regulating mood, sleep, and social behavior. Its deficiency can lead to depression. And norepinephrine is your internal alarm clock, increasing alertness in stressful situations. But emotions aren't just chemical reactions. They originate in deep brain structures, especially the limbic system. The amygdala is your internal threat detector, instantly reacting to danger and triggering fear. It also plays a role in forming emotional memories. The hippocampus helps attach emotions to specific memories, allowing you to learn from past experiences. Now, about decisions. You make hundreds of decisions every day. How does your brain handle such a load? The decision-making process is a complex interaction between the rational and emotional parts of your brain. The prefrontal cortex in the frontal lobes is your center of rationality. It's responsible for logical thinking, analyzing information, planning, and assessing consequences. When you're considering a complex decision, this area is actively working. However, your decisions aren't always purely rational. Emotions play a huge, often unconscious role. Feelings can act as quick hints, guiding you to a choice that seems right on an intuitive level, even if the logical justification isn't fully formed yet. For example, if you've had a negative experience with a certain type of product, emotional memory might prompt you to avoid it. Interestingly, many of your decisions are made at the unconscious level. Studies show that the brain can decide something fractions of a second before you become aware of your choice. This doesn't mean the absence of free will. Rather, it highlights how complex and multifaceted the neural processes underlying your behavior are. Understanding this chemistry and architecture of emotions and decisions gives you a powerful tool for better understanding yourself and how you interact with the world around you. What if we're on the verge of an era when the most mysterious brain diseases are conquered and the human mind can directly interact with machines? The future that seemed like science fiction is becoming reality right now, and world-changing discoveries are happening every day. We've already taken a fascinating journey through the inner world of the brain, revealing its structure, memory mechanisms, and chemistry of emotions. But what lies ahead? Neuroscience is one of the fastest-growing fields of science, and right now, we're on the cusp of discoveries that could radically change our understanding of the human mind and even its future. One of the most inspiring directions is the breakthrough in understanding and treating brain diseases. For a long time, ailments such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression, or schizophrenia remained mysteries, and their treatment was symptomatic. Today, Thanks to new neuroimaging methods, genetic research, and a deeper understanding of neurochemical processes, we're beginning to see a light at the end of the tunnel. New targeted drugs, gene therapy methods, and non-invasive brain stimulation are being developed, promising to slow the progression of degenerative diseases or significantly alleviate the symptoms of mental disorders. Imagine a world where dementia ceases to be a death sentence and depression isn't an exhausting battle. That future is becoming more and more tangible. But perhaps one of the most futuristic and talked about areas is neurointerfaces, or brain-computer interfaces, BCI. These are technologies that allow establishing a direct connection between the brain and external devices. What seemed like science fiction not long ago is already helping people with paralysis control robotic prosthetics with the power of thought, type text without using their hands, or even move a cursor on the screen. In the future, neurointerfaces may not only restore lost functions, but also significantly expand human capabilities, allowing us to directly interact with the digital world, control complex mechanisms, or even exchange thoughts. Of course, this raises many ethical questions, but the potential for improving quality of life is enormous. We can't ignore the influence of artificial intelligence, AI. On the one hand, the very development of neural networks in AI was inspired by the structure of the human brain. On the other, AI is becoming a powerful tool in the hands of neuroscientists. It helps analyze huge amounts of data, model the functioning of neural networks, predict the development of diseases, and even develop new experimental approaches. We see an amazing synergy. The human brain inspires AI, and AI, in turn, helps us better understand the brain. Of course, we still face many unsolved mysteries. We're only beginning to understand how consciousness arises, how the brain generates subjective experience, what intuition or creativity is. But each new discovery brings us closer to a full understanding of this most complex and amazing organ in the universe, our own brain. The future of neuroscience promises to be incredibly exciting, and each of us, one way or another, will witness these grand transformations. Our journey through the depths of the human brain has come to an end, but the mysteries and amazing discoveries are inexhaustible. If you're as fascinated as we are by exploring the world and yourself, support the Epic Echoes channel. Like this video and subscribe to stay tuned for new captivating stories about the greatest mysteries of the universe and the human mind.